Good morning and happy Monday, everybody. This is Longevity Physique Group back with another YouTube video, and this will be episode 2. And the topic that I want to cover today is going to be why most people stay average. And this is probably not for the reason that you think that most people stay average. And at the end of the day, there is nothing necessarily wrong with being an average individual unless you actually care and you want to be a high performing, very successful individual. And I believe that most people watching my YouTube video probably want to be a high performer. They probably want to be successful. They probably want to look good, feel good, be in good shape, and make a lot of money. Because that is, what my YouTube is pretty well framed around. So if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Brent Chabasol. I am the founder and CEO of Longevity Physique Group. And, I've coached over the last 6 years online. So essentially when I came out of high school, I began my coaching journey, and I have closed a bit over $1 million now in fitness sales. And I've coached well over 700 clients now. So I've been doing this for a while. And I've also helped a few people start different businesses. I've been a partner in a couple of gyms. So I've been around the business sort of, atmosphere for a little while. And right now I am 24 years of age. And these right here are the frameworks that I personally use in my own life so that, I don't get stuck average, because I personally believe that there is nothing positive about being, just an average person for myself personally. I want to be able to give people a lot. I want to be able to give value, and I want to help people. So this video is to help you become a high performer and be the person that you want to actually be. So yeah, let's get into it. So what the problem usually is people think they need more motivation. That doesn't happen. You're not going to be motivated all the time. And that's just going to be the reality. Like I wake up every day at 4 a.m. to start working. I go to bed, sometimes a little later than I should. And I don't have the motivation every day to be waking up at 4 a.m. and sitting on my laptop when my eyes are half shut. But the reality is that is what needs to take place for me to reach my goals. So that's the standard I hold myself at. A lot of people think they need a better plan, but the reality is you can only put together so many plans. You probably don't need a better plan. You probably need to stick to the one that you have and actually fulfill on it. And then you can make adjustments. Okay. They think that they need to lock in. Everybody says, I got to lock in now. What's to say that you can't lock in? You say that you need to lock in, but what the fuck is holding you back from actually locking in? It's probably you. It probably has nothing to do with anything else other than the standards that you're holding yourself to. And that's it. So the reality with majority is, they've accepted lower standards. They hang out with a low standard friend group who has low class activities, or sitting around fucking eating like shit, drinking, partying, going out, wasting money, smoking weed, doing drugs, all these things that take away from building a life. And that's unfortunately extremely, extremely common. Not only in the entrepreneurial space, but just in the 9-to-5 space. We are essentially taught as humans to do the minimum to try to get the best result, and that's natural. Even as a business owner, why would I delegate something to somebody else? Yes, because I have higher priority tasks than some of the things that I delegate to move the business forward, to coach the clients that I need to coach, that sort of thing, right? But what happens is, in typical, a 9-to-5 job, for example, is there is an average across the board of lower standards. They're there from 9 to 5, and you sit around and then you wait to leave. I know that's not the case with everyone, but that's pretty normal. It's pretty normalized to want to do nothing and to not push yourself. So, like I said, why this happens is your environment does set the standard, right? So the people around you, you know, if I were to take a younger man, or even myself when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, my first advice to myself would be surround yourself with people who you want to be like. And take a really good hard look at what that actually looks like. Because in a lot of circumstances, you'll say, you know, I want to achieve this, and I want to, you know, I want to buy this house, I want to have this car, I want to have this body, I want to have my health markers at this is my threshold. But reality is most people don't fulfill on that standard. They say it, but they don't actually do the things that are going to push them in the direction of actually achieving these things. Okay? So number one is your environment, you know? You need to have people around you that you want to be like. You want to have people around you that you look up to, that are doing better than you, that are working harder than you, that make you feel pressure right here. No pressure to improve. That's what happens. You need to be surrounding yourself with people who are going to hold you accountable, that are going to put pressure on you. And you actually need, in my opinion, to put yourself in positions where you actually are putting pressure on yourself. I know that most people, like some people have a hard time with performing under pressure. Reality is, if you have a hard time performing under pressure, you have never felt the right pressure. You have felt the wrong type of pressure. Because for me, for example, I moved out of my family home when I was 19. You know, I had my first house when I was 19 years old. And I had a hard time figuring out how the fuck I was going to pay for this thing. And that pressure that I experienced during that time of my life was what has set me up for success over the last half of a decade. You know, that original feeling of, holy fuck, what do I do? Set me up for huge success because it taught me, you know, what priorities are. It taught me to feel pressure. It taught me how to react under pressure. And now when I feel pressure, I know that what I need to do is hold myself to a standard that 99% of people are not willing to hold themselves to, right? So if you surround yourselves with a bunch of losers, average is going to feel normal. That's, you know, it's going to be very normalized in your life to take a weekend off or to go out and party or to eat shit food. That stuff's going to be normal. So, you know, make sure if you want to be somebody, if you want to be better, then stop surrounding yourself with losers. Another one is a lot of people will negotiate with themselves. And we see this all the time. You know, I'll start Monday or I'll skip this. Lag day is a huge thing. I'll skip it. Or, you know, it's going to be too much work to meal prep. So instead of meal prepping, I'm going to grab something at a fast food restaurant. If you negotiate with yourself about these things, you will negotiate with yourself about everything. That becomes your standard. Your standard is what you push upon yourself. And if you are telling yourself that this sort of shit is okay, then how are you going to grow? What's going to put pressure on you to excel? Nothing. If you feel like this stuff is okay, small losses are going to stack up in your life, and that does not point you in the right direction. Okay, so what my best suggestion is to make what your standard is attainable and don't go off of it. Fulfill on your standard. Write it down. Fucking put it on your computer, put it on your home screen, your phone, do whatever you have to do, but hold yourself to a very specific checklist of standards that you fulfill on every single fucking day, or you will struggle. 100% you will struggle. You know, and a lot of people, and we see this so often, chase feelings instead of chasing standards. Okay, so motivation. Oh, yay, let's go work out. You know, it's going to be great. We're going to go work out today. I feel very good today. Well, you would feel very good all the time if you fucking worked out every day. If you stuck to the plan that was written down, you wouldn't have this problem. You would be so used to the fulfillment that you wouldn't just do things when you're motivated, because it would be your routine. It would be your structure. You would live your life this way. And that's what turns you into being the person who you want to be. Okay? So again, only eating well when it's convenient. Why in the world would you even so much as put together a nutrition plan if you're only going to follow it when you feel like it? Because how often do I feel like following my nutrition plan? Well, now after the last, half a decade, I don't even think about it. Because why? Because it is my standard. It is what I do. That is what I know. And what has that done to my life? It's given me the ability to walk around all the time in a body that I'm extremely proud of. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it's given me significantly better health markers than the majority of people that are doing the alternative, going out, drinking regular alcohol and eating shit food all the time, So there's no consistency. If there's no consistency, there's no standard. Okay? So what you need to fulfill on is something that is consistent and that you can attain on a daily basis. Like I said, the truth around this whole framework and this mindset shift from operating on an emotional standpoint and from a motivational standpoint to then operating on a disciplinary and a standards framework. Okay. So your life reflects the standard that you're willing to tolerate. Let that sit for a second. Your life is going to reflect the standard that you are willing to tolerate. So for me personally, a standard that I was not willing to tolerate in my own personal life was to sleep in and get up when I felt like it. And the reason that I'm not willing to tolerate that is because that to me sets the tone for the rest of the day that I need to feel motivated to do something, or I can get away with not doing something. And that's not a standard that I'm personally willing to live by. So what I do to combat that is I make myself get up out of bed at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, very early, no matter what. That is the time that I work at, and I lock in at that period. And what that does, it sets my whole day up for success, period. Because as soon as that standard is set in the morning of we're not fucking around today and we're going to get shit done, then that standard is carried throughout the entire day with my work, with my calls, with my clients, everybody. And I'm speaking from experience. Everybody in my life feels this. They feel the standard, So in my opinion, that's going to be one of the most important variables, is holding yourself to very specific non-negotiables and stacking those habits and then putting those standards in place that you don't have a choice whether to follow them. Okay? So the mental shift that is required to take place during this framework shift is going to be stop asking, do I feel like doing this? Because it doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter whether you feel like doing it. If I woke up someday and I was like, I really don't want to do check-ins. I have 20 check-ins to do for my clients. What am I doing? I'm going to do the damn check-ins. I'm going to get them done because that's the standard that I operate at, and I'm not going to fail my clients who are relying on me. Okay? So if you are someone right now who's struggling with, I don't feel like going to the gym today. Okay. Well, it's up to you if you don't go, but who are you going to hurt if you don't go? You're only going to hurt yourself, nobody else. So at the end of the day, you have to operate at a specific standard. You have to, is this the standard I operate at? If it doesn't align with the standard you operate at, well, looks like you're going to go to the gym. Go to the gym then, because that is the standard that you're going to hold yourself to if you want to succeed. Okay? So actually applying this, and what does that look like? You got to raise your baseline. Train when it's not ideal. Eat well when it's not convenient. Follow through even when you don't feel like doing it. Because at the end of the day, your emotions and your tiredness, and sometimes you're just going to feel like shit, you're not going to want to do certain things. But as a coach, as a business owner, I'm speaking from very truthful experience that you are not going to feel like doing a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you're going to have to do that you're not going to want to do. And if you want to be the person that you say you want to be, these are the things that you're going to have to do. You're going to have to wake up early when you don't feel like it. You have to stay up later sometimes than you want to work. Sometimes you're going to have to go to the gym at a time you don't want to go to the gym. Maybe it's busy, but who cares? Get it done. If that's the standard that you're setting for yourself and you're saying you want to be that type of person, then be that type of person. Then stop holding yourself back and be that person. Okay? So the result of this shift, if you will make it, is going to be more discipline, more confidence, and overall more control. And, some people talk negatively about control. Yeah, you're a control freak. Well, at the end of the day, if you have control in your own life, then that is only going to set you and the people that you care about up for so much of a better life. Okay? That's something that I love having control. And the reason I love having control is because I know that I have the mental toughness to have that control, because I'm not going to let things fail. And that's what's given me the ability to get to where I am today with business, with fitness, with relationships. That's what set me aside. So if you are someone right now who struggles with feeling out of control of their life, then you need to start living by a standard that is a non-negotiable standard and stop fucking around and lock into this. Lock into your standard, okay? Because that's going to be the most important thing for you to possibly do, for you to be the person who you want to be. So the one line reflection on this is going to be, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. And let that sit, because you can talk about your goals as much as you feel like it. But if you ever let your standards slip, then you're not going to become that person. We can have days that aren't great, but we need to find a minimal that we are okay with at our standard, at our very, very baseline. No matter how stressed you are, no matter if your dog died, no matter if someone hit your car, whatever, we need to find a specific standard to operate at that is a non-negotiable that we do every day, no matter what. And when you find that baseline, that is when everything in your life starts to change, starts to really, truly change and get better. Okay? So if you guys have any questions about this, I would love to have a conversation with you. Please, if you find this motivating, or if you think that my frameworks are going to be beneficial to anybody else, then please like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you can to boost the algorithm. I just want to give a positive message to as many people as I can. And again, I am Brent Chavasol. I'm the CEO and founder of Longevity Physique Group, and we are here to help you. So like, subscribe, and if you guys need anything, you can go to my Instagram, DM me, LPG, and I will be in touch with either fitness or business help. So have a good day, everybody.